Well, hello. Welcome to the stream. It's Saturday morning. I just spilled some coffee because I was walking over to the desk and I had to sneeze, and I thought to myself, you can make it. You can make it with the coffee down on the desk. And then halfway through, I was like, no, you can't make it. I put my hand down with the coffee cup to put on another surface, and I sneezed, but the coffee cup wasn't fully down and it spilled on some paper that I hadn't scanned yet. So it's a good morning, is what I'm saying. I've been hard at work here for the past little bit because stuff to do. Did a lot of cleanup on my debugs. I enjoy the debug logs. Not sure what all this is. That's just from loading. And got stuff to do today. Saving loading's working pretty well, and I'm just getting the loot reset up. For some reason it's not loading, and that's boggling my mind. But I want to take away the hard-coded forced items and build the proper loot box loading system. So if I pause here, go down to find active scene setup loot. There are 1 box in the scene, but there should be 1 here, and that's where I left off before I started the stream. Essentially, setup loot is called right here. See that there. And the first thing we do is clear and reset loot boxes in the save data. Now I not sure if this is actually what we need to do. Because our saved scene data... Oh man, my laundry's done. My laundry should have been done right before the stream, not right after it starts. The saved scene data is not this data. The saved scene data is over here, and it's what was loaded. Let's close these ones. Let's close that transform too. So that's this data, and it has a scene data right here. I mean, it's going to be this last one, iron port, and loot boxes should be populated. That's the whole idea. However, it's not. So I want to start by just not doing any of this and seeing what happens. And technically, I think nothing will load because, well, let's just see, actually. Will I think nothing will load? Maybe I think nothing will load. The loot boxes won't be there. But because in this saved file that we're loading, this is technically the first time we've loaded the scene. So it won't be in the scene data list yet. All right, so it is loaded. I was wrong. So what we actually need to do is not clear this out because if we had saved from, or if we had loaded but this was already here, actually wait a minute. The data won't be saved here. And this is a reference to our loot box. So maybe we need we need some way to save all of our stuff there. So I think we might actually need to redo loot box itself to not be a mono behavior and add make loot box its own class. That way all of this data would be saved. If the player rearranges things, adds things to the box, it will be referenced here and saved, and then ultimately can be reloaded. The order of the list won't matter, just as long as it's, well, that would be a moot point. Hey Tyler. Hey Allah. You're new. Welcome to the stream. I'm glad you're here. Hopefully you enjoy my rambling. And my slurping coffee. So, that's probably the first step, is making loot box something that I can save differently. So what we're going to do is create a new class called loot box data. Okay, so public class loot box data, and loot box data is going to be, so lock level doesn't have to be saved in the data. Anything that's going to be saved in the data, we're going to move to that. The prefab doesn't need to be saved in the data. UID does not need to be saved in the data, does it? It should be, but it will be the same as this when on setup. So we do need UID. And I'm going to write a note here. This will match the loot box UID in DC. So that's important that matches. So the prefab, we're going to have to do scriptable objects for traps. That's fine. That could be kept outside of it. Loot contents. So this is stuff that needs to be, let's see, this can be saved here. Item potential scriptable objects, that's something we have to do still. So really it's going to be all of this stuff that that we need to move down there, because this is the stuff that actually holds where the items are, the actual items themselves, and just a list of the item names. Not sure if I actually use that, but I might. It's a nice handy way. But so this is now going to be public loot box data, and make that lowercase. Loot box data, and then we'll make this loot box data. This gets saved. Okay. I don't think I need that there necessarily, but it's okay. Made the wrong one lowercase. Alright. And so now on get ready, we're going to hold on, my mom is calling. Be right back. I'm back. No action. That's because my mom called, and when your mom calls, sometimes you should pick up. So I did. I'm a good son. So on Get Ready, I do want to make sure that this is, well, first of all, is it called anywhere? It should be. It should be called from active scene. Oh yeah, it's called here for each one. And this is, so it should be, let's see. So if the game has stuff loaded, then we don't need to do the setup necessarily. But let me just fix these errors first. We're going to say loopbox data dot spots. And technically, we should probably move all these to loopbox. But that's okay. We can do that another time. Okay. So, really the first thing we need to do is this part. So if it's already registered, then we're going to load from there, because spots, items names, that will already be saved, and we don't need to do the setup. However, if it's not already saved, then we do. So we need to check. Good morning, Brian, by the way. I didn't say that yet, I don't think. So good morning. We need to check if this is already registered in the saved data. And I don't think we're going to be clearing and resetting. So I'm going to just kind of start from up here. For each loop box, we're going to say loop box get ready. And in get ready, we're going to start by checking to see if this is already registered in the saved data. So if, let's see, actually, active scene, let's pass this along. So this is our saved scene data. This is the scene data that's from the save file. So if saved scene data dot oh, has loop box. Interesting. That's nice. UID. Then do something. Sometimes I have already given myself a nice helpful method, and then I forget about it. Scene data. Okay. Loop boxes. All right. Thinking about this UID here, wondering when it gets set. I don't think it gets set necessarily, so this is going to be First, can make sure UID is set. So I'm going to just say first I make this a regular log, not a debug log. Oh, we don't have. Make this a Legend of Stones mono behavior. And we don't have an awake, so that's okay. I am going to move this up here, though. Alright. So, first make sure UID is set. So to do that, we're just going to say get UID. Now get UID is going to say if it's null or white space, in other words not set, then create one, otherwise return it. So if it's already set, this will do absolutely nothing. If it's not set, it will create one. Now if it did create one, then of course the save scene data is not going to have loot box by that data. And that's a problem. So instead, I guess this should be done at edit time. And so let's see, validate. Yes, on validate. I think this is what we need to do. On validate is what we need to do. Let's see. On validate, check loot box UIDs. And so this is going to go through for each loot box in loot boxes, right? Where's my loot boxes? Wait a minute. The cocktails came after. I do have to say those chocolate martinis, holy cow. Those are easy to drink. Dangerous. Loot boxes. Oh, okay. So yeah, so what we need to do in current scene data dot loot boxes. So loot box dot get UID. Just nothing, essentially just confirms that, so we can put that then here, confirm UID, it's a public method. So for each one, confirm UID. Now we're going to have to do this for likely other things as well. don't really want to do a log. It's going to spam a little bit, but that's okay. We should be fine there. Okay, let's see. Does this now have a UID? Oh, can't see. We need this to be here, I think. There we go. So loopbox data, UID is empty. So is on validate not happening then? Or we just didn't? Let's just make this 0 and then add this. No, it didn't work. It did not work. Alright, so clearly on validate's not happening. And that's funny, it is going through this though. How come this got no reference if it's not going through? Oh, I already have another bottle. Different brand. I got two different brands. Usually I get the Godiva one, and it's actually been years since I've gotten it. Or maybe not years, maybe actually a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. But they were out, so I got two different brands. The other one is peppermint in it, so maybe that's better for winter. I shouldn't have pressed play. That wasn't the point. If we put it here. No, I need it to run at edit time. I need this to happen. I need this confirm UID. Active sync. Put this in here. Okay, why isn't it working? New. Unity 3D. Unity 3D. On validate. This should work. I would think it would work. Well, damn. That's frustrating. Why won't it work? Let's see. Why doesn't on validate work in Unity? I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. This way. OnValidate does not seem to be called. don't know why. Yeah, I've used it before. I just don't. This function is called when the script is loaded or a value is changed in the inspector. Well, okay, great. But values are being changed in the inspector and nothing happens. Unity 3, how to use onValidate. I'm missing something. I would like their scripting to be more robust than this. No, I don't want to watch a YouTube video on it. How to use onValidate. Okay, that did not help, because that's exactly what I'm doing. Jeez. That's cool. Those frost giants should have reacted sooner. They should have heard the other people screaming and gone running. But that's cool still. Bad blog post. Alright. Well, fudgesicle. If onValidate isn't working, I'm really not sure how to set that. Active scene, onValidate. Debug.log, test. Just to see if maybe it's not that. Maybe it's the log. I don't know. Ha! Alright, so this part worked. Okay, so it is being called, but That's not being called. And check loot box UIDs. Let's see if that's being called. All right. Maybe the logger doesn't work in this context. Now, this should be setting it. Okay. What am I missing here? What am I missing here? There's no scene data here, so it has to be on this. But it's not showing up here. Oh. This one. Oh. Silly me. Silly me. It is showing. This public one won't show. Duh. Okay. So, I think what I learned is two things. One, I need to say hide in inspector for this because that's just going to confuse the heck out of me. It is populating the UID, but the other thing I learned is that for some reason the log here doesn't work. It has to be debug log, or it doesn't spit anything out. So what I'm going to do is not do this on active scene. I'm going to zombie code it for a bit though. Instead, each loot box will do it directly on itself. So on validate, it's going to just get UID. So technically, I'm going to keep it in debug mode so we can see the private field there. Log is the thing that Jason Story helped me with that just overrides or does debug log. I would think it should work, but it just isn't. I'm going to move on from that. It's not terribly important for this context because it works in every other context. So if I create a new... Okay, so if I duplicate this, it's going to have the same UID, right? Oh, it has a different one. Interesting. I'm going to reset this. Interesting. When I reset the UID. Okay. Huh. Well, that's good. It's a good feature. I guess every time I duplicate it, the new one gets a different UID. Okay. Delete those. Okay, so now technically this UID should never change. It's there forever. And I'm going to do the same. Do I want to do the same treatment to the active scene? Because I've been saying the active scene UID manually. For the scene data. All right. Moving on. I don't. It does derive from model behavior. I think, or it extends it. Well, one of the two. I forget the right terminology to use, I suppose, but it does. It's just, yeah. But I'm gonna move on because that was annoying. It's working now though, so move on. And what I'm gonna do is say, all right, now that we have the loot box, that should always be set then. So, okay, if the same saved scene data has a loot box by this ID, then we are going to say loot box data equals saved scene data get loot get loot box data UID. And so we'll make that method where it's going to return the data by that UID. Loot box UID. And just in case, we're going to say if not, well, we'll do this. I know Jason keeps saying he's going to teach me a better way to do all this, so I'm looking forward to that. Return loot box loot box data log error return default. All right, so that should get us the loot box data. And so essentially this means if we have saved data, we're going to copy the saved data to the scene data. So when the loot box does its setup, it will use that data. So we're going to say log loot box name had saved data, just to be consistent about this for a while. And else, and we'll do an if else here. But we can actually do it a better way. So we're going to public void get saved data scene data saved scene data. So there's actually a bool, and we're going to do this. return true, otherwise return false. So we'll say if we don't have if we don't have the save data, then we will do nothing. Wait. Then we have to set up loot box from loot box. Yeah, we'll just do set up loot box, and this is also gonna copy that over, I think. So log setup loot box. So if we don't have save data, then we're going to set up, and in setup, we do this, 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 and this. Is that right? Let's see, temp hardcode items. Just need to make sure I know what these are all doing. This is going to force these items into the various areas. Okay. Populate forced items. For each forced item, try to fit it. Throw an error if you can't. No. Drinking coffee. Which reminds me, I should have a little bit more. But let me get my brain around this first. Okay, so this is adding forced items. And then finally, populate inventory does what? Right now, absolutely nothing. So I don't know if I need to do that. Now, I think all of those things would be in the save data. And I do think I'm going to need to do a hack to get around the serialization depth level. But we'll cross that bridge. Okay. So I think that might be it, but I could easily be wrong. Press play. Hey, Brian. All right, let's see. Game. Set up loot. It did have saved data. Oh, it did, huh? Really? Wouldn't have expected it to have saved data. Oh. Oh. Scene was not registered. So adding it now. Set up scene data. Okay. So instead of checking, well, we should check to make sure it's saved. But so what I think is happening is, since I don't have any scene data in this save file, it's copying all of the active scene, including all of this stuff over, which is proper. So it's always going to return true, essentially. So get save data is always going to have save data, but instead what we need to do is set up whether or not this has been opened. So public bool or populated setup has been set up was false. And so instead of doing this, so get save data is always going to get the save data. So we just call that instead. So get the saved data. If this is brand new, then the data was just added when the scene data was added. Otherwise, this will pull the saved data into the current scene data. That's the idea. And then we will set up the loot box, I suppose. If return. Okay. So has been set up will be true after we do this process. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I am still going to have to do the whole... No, I don't have to do any... No. Okay. Never mind. Cross that off the list. Okay. This might work, and I'm going to specify for a bit right here. Log loot box name has already been set up. Now this should not call. Instead, this part should call after loot box get ready. Let's see. Let's see if it works. Pause. Okay. Get ready. Has saved data. Set up loot box. Good. Line 69. Good. And now if we check this has been set up is true. Okay, let's just see if it actually worked all the way through. I don't know if this will work all the way through, but we should. Oh, where'd it go? See actual items in here? Okay, so that part didn't work. It didn't actually do, well, it didn't, unless we're not forcing items, unless I have to set that up again. Let me see. Oh yeah, I'm not forcing items. Oh, you know what I was going to do? I remember now. I was going to make a custom inspector for this. So that I could just select items from the items module. That's what I was going to do. That is much more complicated than... But that is exactly what I was going to do, because forced items would be so much easier if I could just pull from the... Is this an opportunity for property drawers? Unity 3D property drawers. Because I've never used property drawers, and I feel like maybe this is an opportunity for property drawers. Can be used to customize the look of certain controls in the inspector. These attributes on your scripts are by controlling how a specific serialized class should be look. 2 uses customize the GUI of every instance. Every script members with custom property attributes. Customize the GUI of a serializable class. Classes should be placed in a regular script file. An example. So instead of this, we get this. Custom property drawer type of ingredient. Okay, so I need to make one of these. I think. So, editor GUI. Maybe not. So maybe a custom inspector is the way to go. Let's see if we can bang that out. I've done these a lot now, so it should be fairly easy. Editor editor script. So this is lootbox. Create lootbox editor. I'll have to do some copy and pasting from my other editor scripts to remind myself how I do it. Do the modules. Scripts. Editor. Not this one. Items, editor. Items, editor. Alright. These are long ass scripts. Lootbox and lootbox editor, and needs all of this stuff. And what am I doing wrong? So custom editor. Yeah. It's not going to be a modules custom editor. It's just a custom editor. Okay. So show full inspector. Let me just drill down. Yeah, this is has to be scriptable object. This is not. Okay. Show full inspector. Draw default inspector. Let's start with that. And on inspector GUI. Private bool show full inspector equals false. So if we are showing full inspector, we'll do that, and then what's the toggle? Editor GUI, that's right. Editor GUI dot toggle left show or show full inspector and equals editor GUI layout. That's right. Not what I was doing before. Not editor GUI layout. All right, so this should be, let's see if it works. All right, good. So this is always important to have, in my opinion, so you can always show everything in case you messed up or something. But now we're going to set the different values. So set 30. That should save our selections, I think. I hope. Okay, so this is going to be the full inspector and set 30. Mandatory stuff. And then, all right, so we're going to go with editor GUI layout dot label field. We're going to say UID and script dot UID. Okay, so we do need a reference to the thing we're working on. Script, where is script? Editor script, custom editor script target. That's not insanely helpful. Let's see. Target. That's not what I was looking for. That doesn't. None of that. None of that. None of that. That's not what I do usually. There's some way of doing it that I usually do it, and unfortunately, I can't remember, and I now use this. Let's see, on enable box equals box target. Box. Ah, there we go. Alright, so loop box UID. Let's see, does that work? Good. Shows us our UID now. That'll always be helpful for debugging and other things. That should never change either. So if we make another one of these, it has a different UID. Good. Okay, so I'm gonna make some to-do labels for myself as well. Space or space. To-do. Lock levels. I think lock levels is gonna be an item from the modules. So that's why I'm doing it like that. And then I'm going to do another one here. If this box has has been set up. Otherwise, not. So that should change when we press play. So to do for lock levels. Box inventory prefab. Okay. Space. Layout.object field. Box inventory prefab. False as game object. Is that? Type bool. Object. System type bool. Ah. Loot box dot box inventory prefab equals that and okay. All right, good. That's up there. I'm gonna do a big space between that and that, and then okay, so now forced items. All right, so for forced items, editor GUI layout. We're actually going to do a toggle for this. Items. Show forced items. Yeah. Method. End. Show end. That. Say if not show forced items return. Here we'll make this show start information. Keep it more clean. Okay, show to-dos. plumbing. Okay. And I guess I could put this down here too. Show forced items. Okay. So now it's a little bit more easy to see each section in the editor script here. And in fact, I can go one step further. Show plumbing. And I can make this the same as this. So show plumbing. If not show plumbing, return. Otherwise, we'll show the plumbing. I'm not going to do the same to the other two because these I just always want showing, and then the to-dos I just want to always remind myself. If we do show the plumbing, then at the end I want to do a space. And same thing with the show forced items. Okay. All right, so for forced items, this is going to be a list, but we're not going to show it as a list. Instead, we're going to do for each for I equals 0, I is less than loot box dot forced items dot count plus plus. So for each one, we're going to show it, and for now I'm just going to do a label field. Show item, just to have it there because we need the add button, and I'm going to do that at the end maybe. So if editor button maybe? No. If what's the button? Button. GUI layout dot button. That's right. If GUI layout dot button and so we add new item, add new forced item, then we're going to say loot box dot forced items dot count or dot add dot add new item. Oh, no. That's not what we're doing. That's not what we're doing. It's close to what we're doing, but not quite. So we need to specify Alright, sorry, I'm thinking out loud. Hi, the bull. Alright, editor GUI layout.start or begin horizontal, and always do an end. Because you might forget. So we need to do a few things here. This is going to show the list of items available. And then it's going to show a list of objects in the item, and then the add button. Okay. I have to change this too, but that's okay. We can do that in a bit. Now I have to remember my code that I did before. I can probably steal it from one of the modules, because I know I've done this with the modules, and it's a bit of a workaround because we're going to be saving the unique IDs. That's what we're saving, but we're going to be displaying lists that you can select from. And we do that in the modules. So if I go to my items, I'm going to create a new one. It's going to be temp. For this purpose, go to dictionaries. Oh, that's freaking bug. I don't know what the bug is all about, but just have to save any script to force a recompile. Okay, so I'm going to add test and add that, and it's going to be a item. So now when we go to our items and create test item, we need to set our RPG data. Okay. And then dictionary, this is the bit. So we're going to choose items and then the item here. So this is going to be in the items module, this code I'm going to steal from. I think it's here. Let's see. Yeah. Every time I go in here, I'm like, wait, what was I doing? But it's okay. I'm looking for all right. Show dictionaries. Show dictionary. Control Shift S, huh? I did not know that. Show dictionary item. Wrong path. Wrong path. Okay. Show panel buttons. Show items. Show item. Show item details. Show inventory item dictionary. Show dictionary key value pairs. Show key value pair for item. And item. All right, so this is the bit. All right, and this is also where I need to go to my loot box. And we're going to do a new class here. Loot box forced item. And string, this is going to be items UID. And then public string item UID. Hello, Leon. Welcome to the stream. I think I'm going to need public string prefix UID, just in case I'm forcing those two. Public string suffix UID. Those are going to be optional, but I need them. So now forced items is actually going to be a list of these. Loot box forced item. And so, okay. I'm trying to get this functionality. Pop up current parent index. Okay. So this is what I'm going to copy and make use of. So we're going to show item. Add new forced item. Yeah, so this is we're going to do this in the add new forced item area. And this is going to be just add. Core loot box. Undo, that's fine. Okay, current parent index, that's the items. Current parent index. Shoot, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? What am I doing? Pop up current parent index. Items array names. I need to copy that. Items cached. Okay. So now that should get all of our items, and all of our names and okay. Current items index. So we're going to call this current index items and make this a private bool here, or private int equals -1. Oh, it's supposed to be a string. What is it down in the other thing? Key value, value items. Oh, that's the UID. Okay. Okay, so this is going to be current items. Change it like this. Current items UID. And we're going to do private string current item UID. We'll need both of those. Okay, so get the current item index based on that UID. Okay, we're just going to go with that. Go with that. Key value, value items. Because items array UID. So this is going to be just this, right? And then this resets. So current item UID resets when we get a new parent, then we have to reset the child. Okay, that's good. And so really all of these, oops, not that, in this current file can be changed to current items UID. Place all. There's only two. That's fine. And then this can be changed to current item UID. Okay. Get items object. This. Index item. Do we have that twice? We do have that twice. Then why is it coming up here? Oh, I see. Copied the wrong one. Item array. Get item by index. That was the one right after it. Okay. Now will it magically work? I don't know. Let's see. So begin horizontal. Doing an undo. It's fine. don't think we need an undo, but we're doing it anyways. Actually, yeah, we don't need it there because we need it on the add, but that's okay. We'll deal with that later. All right, so the current parent index, blah 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 blah, magically should work. Let's just see. Does it magically work? Forced items. All right, not completely. For each loot box forced item in forced items. Oh. Okay, we're gonna have to redo this. Debug, log error, redo this now. So we have to redo that because we're gonna have to grab the item in a different way. But that's okay. Okay, good. So you need to do a couple things. This add button should only show up if both of these are not null. So if current items UID, actually, if not is null or string dot string dot is null or white space, that and item, then we will show the button. If they are otherwise, we will not. And I'm going to make these green. So editor GUI layout dot background code. No, editor GUI dot background code. No, editor layout dot back. Nope. GUI layout. GUI layout dot background color. Editor GUI dot color. No, background. Where is my color? What is color code? Customer color. Background color. GUI dot background color. GUI dot background color equals color dot green. And then at the end, we also need to reset back to white. So now these buttons I think should be green. And the add should go away. Okay, good. So if we choose items and then choose curious, don't need to show the UID here, not in this context. So don't need to show this label. And the add button might be bigger. All right, good. So when I click that add button, I'm going to add this forced item, and essentially I'm going to add it as a the UIDs. That's all I'm adding is just the two UIDs. So we're going to say lootbox.forceditems.add, and we're going to pass in this and this. And then let's see, public loot box force item, string items new items UID, and string new item UID, and items UID equals new items UID, and item UID equals new item UID, and the prefix and suffix will be added or selectable after it's added. So we just need to add those two. Okay, and if we show full inspector before we add the display of them up there and the ability to remove it, if we show our full inspector, oops. Oh, wait. Why? Oh, okay. New forced loot box forced item equals new loot box new forced item equals new loot box forced item new loot box forced new loot box forced new forced item. Okay, could probably do it like this then. Yeah. All right, that's the way to do it, I think. Alright, so we should see it pop up down here. Aha! So it popped up. So we got the item UI, items UID and item UID. And that's fine. It's all gibberish if we're looking at that, but it's going to show up here as what we've added. And actually, maybe I should do prefix and suffix here. Or not. I don't know. Guess it's... yeah, later. It's better later. Okay, so now that we have that there, we also need to display them. So this is going to be, I'm going to move this into its own method here, and I'm going to go private void show add item. Just to keep that more clear. So when we're showing forced items, first we're going to show the list, and that's this placeholder there. So we're going to do a couple things. So one thing I want to do is Item object. Item items, get items, get item object. Okay, get item object. Like that, so label field is going to be get items object by loot box forced item equals loot box forced items I. Okay, so forced item dot item UID. Actually, this is okay. So item equals game dot using system dot show it down here. Items equals force items dot items UID. Why isn't this working? Items. Turn null. Item dot full name. Item dot object name. Actually, okay. This should now be curious. in a way, I feel like this should actually just be something you can select. You add it and then you modify it just with drop downs. Seems more convenient. Like if I wanted to change it, I could just change it rather than adding a new one and deleting it. But that being said, it should never be empty. So I think it could be fine to do it for just the items. Let's try that. So this is going to be the code, and if I copy that up here, so instead of that, copy this here, items, goes get items object. So I can keep that, and then current index I guess that would have to be stored on this section. So hide an inspector, editor, item index. Okay, yeah, well, public int items equals -1. And we're going to do that for the prefix and suffix too. Then we can do current index equals get current index forced item dot editor item index. Oh. Right, we're passing the UID in, so just force item.item UID. New index, current index. Okay, so this is what we'll do. Forced item dot. Actually, current index. I don't think we need to do that. Will this just work? Forced item UID equals that. Let's just see if that works. We don't need to comment these out. Except not all of them. It seems to have not saved. Okay, and it's slow as can be. It is slow if we don't show the full inspector. Yes. So I need to cache stuff because this is too slow. That's probably because it's doing stuff every frame. And items cached. Items array. Where's items array used? All over the place. Okay, so I think to get around that, I'm not going to allow it to be modified after. So instead, I will do full name here, and we'll add the prefix and suffix in the add section. Yeah, it's just easier, I think, just to do it this way, and then there's also less chance of human error of changing it accidentally without realizing it. And we'll just have a little X button to remove it. The problem is that potentially you could have items from a lot of different items lists, so there's just going to be a lot of caching and checking going on. So I think I'm going to try to keep it simple by not doing all of that. But the add item is going to need new lists for the prefix and suffix. So there's that. And let me just check the speed here. It's still pretty slow. Yeah. Items. So what if we do private static item cached equals new item. And we'll have to do the same for item mod and item mod, prefix cached and suffix cached. Item cached. Where do we use this? So do we have item array? We do. So we'll cache this here. We'll do the same thing as items array. If item cached length 0, then we'll return item cached. Wait. It's a string. Okay. Just holding strings for those. Where do we cache this? Maybe that's the problem. Maybe we're not caching it. Cache items array. Oh, on enable. That's why we don't cache the other ones. But that's okay. So if we don't cache these, don't do that. All right, so that solved that. That was the bigger issue, finding all the items. I just wasn't caching it. I thought I was caching it, I wasn't. So now those are cached. The other ones can be obtained very quickly. So I don't need to cache the other ones, the strings. Instead, okay, I can. That means I can do the more complicated version. Then, so. Okay. So the more complicated version was item object. Current index items current item UID no forced item dot item UID. That. Don't need that. Does this work? Book. So this is the first one. We should see this item UID changing. Yeah, it should be the same now as this third one. Good, okay. Okay, so now we can change those. Now we need to do the prefix and suffix as well. So we're going to make the prefix here and the suffix here. So prefix and suffix. And we're going to see current index prefix. Just gonna add these new index prefix, suffix, and suffix. Okay. Force item prefix UID and current index prefix, 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 suffix UID and current index suffix, suffix, new index suffix. Suffix. Okay, and then we're gonna go get so get prefix by index and get suffix by index. Forced item prefix UID and suffix UID equal so items new prefix UID. Okay, get suffix. Perfect, I think. So we're going to copy this one and say get prefix. And this is going to be an item mod. index for each item mod prefix in items dot prefixes return prefix. And we'll do the same for suffixes. Suffix. Suffixes. Okay. Don't know what happens if it's null. But I think okay, we also need editor GUI layout to begin horizontal and end horizontal. Now I'll make sure that we can have it set to null as well, or empty as well. I think we might need to add something for that. Okay, so so these are not showing the right things. So before we do anything there, prefix, I'll get current prefix index prefix, current index prefix, get current index suffix. Prefix, UID items, and for each item mod item prefix in item items if prefix return I. Prefixes, okay. Do the same for suffix. Suffix. Suffixes, okay. Current index prefix, get current index prefix. Prefix UID, okay. Pop up current index prefix items array item. So this is going to be prefix array. And suffix array. Names for each item mod prefix in items dot prefixes, add prefix dot name. Okay, we'll do the same for suffixes. Okay, that should do the do the trick. I think. Strong mace of stuff. Okay. Now I do want to be able to select nothing though. So that's going to be essentially adding an empty one at the start. So we're going to have to do names.add empty for each of these, I think. Prefix and suffix. And then yeah, let's just see what happens. All right, so we have that. What didn't? Okay. That's interesting. Get prefix by index. Prefix UID. Okay, I'll do it a different way. Buttons. So I'm going to remove this and remove this. Set these. Now we're going to have buttons here to remove them. And so, still in our horizontal, remove buttons, we're going to say GUI dot background color equals color dot red, and then we're going to do color.white at the end. All right, and then we're going to have 3 buttons potentially. We're definitely going to have one for X. So if editor button, GUI layout dot button dot red. Okay, GUI layout dot button with X, and GUI layout dot width equals width of 25. Then remove the item. So we're going to say loot box dot forced items dot remove at I, and then we have to do the, there's a there is a special editor script code, exit GUI, that's it, that will keep it from throwing an error after it removes one from the array, for the list rather. Alright, so that will remove the entire item. We can test that by clicking it. We could do a pop-up as well, confirmation. I don't think I'm going to add that because I don't want to have to click it. We could, however, do undos. So that would be better to add an undo. Undo this, undo. What's undo? What's our undo code? Record object. That's right. Undo dot record object this undo. So now, technically, we should actually add these up here too. So if I change the plate, oh, it's not working at all. Let's see. Let's just start. Just add mace, add a magic book, add a hand axe, delete the hand axe, undo. Whoa, that did not work. That did not work at all. Okay. I don't know why it didn't work out. Or actually, not this, loot box. That's what we need to record, that object. Maybe that's why. Well, okay, well that part worked. Guess we could add it on the add as well. Show add items. Button, button, button. Right here. See ya, Tyler. Have a good afternoon. All right. Add a short sword. Undo. That works. Okay. Make it strong. Undo. That works. Make it a hand axe. Undo. That works. Make it cunning. That works. All right. Good. Undos work. Now we need to add the other two buttons. So dot red. Where is that? Right here. And I'm gonna put these in the new one. No, not yet. So we're gonna do if. So this is only gonna show if the forced item dot prefix UID is not string dot is null or white space. If it's not null or white space, then we'll show this. Otherwise, we won't. So this is going to be prefix, and we're going to make this say 70. And if we click this, then we're going to say forced item dot prefix UID equals just empty. And we'll do the same for suffix. And see if those work. So essentially the buttons should only show up if it's not empty, and it will just make it empty. So that way I don't have to worry about adding a whole field at the top that's empty or whatever. There you go. So if we do strong, cunning, we can remove prefix or undo, suffix or undo. There we go. I can make those skinnier, looks like. So maybe make them 50. This window will have to be fairly wide, I suppose. But now we have our forced items, and the forced items are only using the UIDs, which is nice because that means if I change the names of these, then the names will change here as well. The UIDs shouldn't change, so yeah. And then we're gonna make a magic book of magic missiles. Okay. Now, I need that to stay. I don't want to have to come back and click it every time. So, how do I get that to stay? I think I need to put it on the loop box. because this script doesn't actually save the data. It's up here. So I actually should save the other two on that as well, so that this doesn't have to be reset. Although, maybe it's fine. Let's see. Okay, so forced item. Okay. Yeah, that's fine to have to, because if you add a new items list or anything else, I don't want to have to worry about issues where there's now less or more or anything like that. There may be an issue where something doesn't exist here, like a UID doesn't exist. And if that's the case, I don't know what it's going to do. We can find out though. Items, test, add that. Okay, it's added. So now if I go to my treasure box and say I'm going to add a test. Now I go back to items, delete the test. Go back to the treasure chest, and it's null. Okay, so if it's null, let's see what the inspector shows. It's the fifth one, fourth one. Yeah, so if item is not found, then we should just remove it. If either prefix or suffix are not found, we can just make them null. But so let's handle that right now. Show force items. Item object. So we're going to say items. Actually, I'm starting to think maybe I don't need to handle it. It just won't show up here. But I could handle it on the creation side, because I'm going to need to check them on the creation side anyways, and if it doesn't have one, then don't create it. But that is a good point. Don't want to save incorrect data. Alright, so item object, pop up. Forced item UID equals get item index. So yeah, that returns null. Yeah. So if, well, why is it actually not? Making it empty there. Let's see, forced item UI items. Get current item index. What happens if we return negative? That should work then. So if current index equals -1, or is less than 0, we can say, then do the same as this, basically. Remove at that item. Let's see if it works. Whoop. Oh, it did work. Okay, good. And then for the other two here, if that, then we don't need to do remove at. We can just say forced items dot suffix. Forced item dot suffix UID equals that, and same for the prefix. Okay, so those will just reset to be empty, and we can test that out. Back to our items, prefixes. We're going to say test prefix, and I don't know why I had to do all that. Test suffix. And then go to our treasure box, make this a test prefix, make this one test suffix, and then go back to our items and delete those. Go back to our treasure box, and they're empty. Perfect. Handled. Handled. Okay. So, I think this is about it for this stream because I'm getting hungry and I have to clean up some stuff before I have to go out for a little bit and do more cleaning. So, what we did is pretty cool. I had forgotten that I wanted to make this custom inspector. But, ooh, I should probably make this red if that is null. Let's do one more thing. Prefabs and prefabs. Box editor. So we're gonna say if this is null. So if that. We don't have one of those, then we're going to say GUI layout dot GUI dot background color equals color dot red, and then regardless, we're going to put it back to white after. Basically saying if we don't have that, then it's going to be red to remind you that you have to have that. So treasure box panels in my prefabs Legend of the Stone, so I don't forget, just in case as I make this null. There we go. Well, so that needs to be somewhere else. show point. Ah. And we also want to do GUI.content color equals color.red. That'll make the text red too. There we go. Perfect. That's a nice reminder. It's forced items. So next step will be to make sure that the forced items are instantiated as they used to be in the loot box. And the next step after that, I should add it to my to-dos so I don't forget, is lock levels, but not lock levels. We're going to do item potentials. So item potentials are going to be pre-made objects that themselves are might have a list of items that they could be and percentages and various other things. So, you know, when you open a chest, what do you get, right? It's going to be a random stuff. You know, aside from the forced things, which is great for quest items or something if you know, it's dangerous to go alone, here's the wooden sword. Aside from those things, it should be randomized. So the number of items randomized, but perhaps that's going to be flexible based on the party's skill level. Maybe there's more items if they're less skilled, more items if they're more skilled, who knows. The code will also take into account the luck value of the party. So if they're lucky, then there's a greater chance, the greater their luck value, the greater chance that they're going to get a little extra. And then the items themselves will have various, maybe I'm going to add levels to them and just other things that make it randomized. So I could have a potentials, an item potentials object, which lists only weapons and only a some set of prefixes and suffixes, and other things like levels, or maybe I'll just have a potentials that just says, hey, all items, it could be of any items level 1, 2, or 3, and the items will all have those levels. Some method of that, a combination of those various things, and then even like minimum number, maximum number. So maybe it's anywhere between 1 and 3, but if the player's lucky, they get the higher between 2 rolls of that die. And if they're unlucky, they get the lower, I guess. Gold, like how much gold there is, stuff like that. So that's going to be item potentials. And then really the third level of that, and we should add that as well, is going to be respawn. So yes, these can respawn. So if you collect the treasure, then in some amount of time it will respawn. Whether that's the whole map respawns or just the treasure, I haven't decided yet. But when it respawns, perhaps it has different item potentials. So maybe over time, even the forced items change. So if it has a quest item the first time, it won't have the same quest item the second time. You know. So even this forced items is probably going to have to be changed into respawns, where each one is another respawn, and it'll keep track of which respawn it's on. So I'll end up doing this forced items, one for each respawn level or something like that. So that's the idea. Enemies are going to be populated very similarly, where there's going to be like an enemy object that could be any one of one or a dozen enemies, who knows. And maybe at the start of the game it's going to be pretty solid, like it's just one, like this is always going to be a goblin. But later in the game on a respawn, maybe there's a 50% chance that it's a goblin archer, or a goblin master, who knows, whatever, more, or a 100% chance that's the stronger one. So that as it respawns later in the game, they're stronger. Technically, you're stronger, so it might keep the game a little bit more refreshed on those respawns. A little bit more exciting. And then there's more value to go back to places and see what's there, because it could be that a quest item only comes up after it's respawned once or twice. And even these chests, I mean, it could be that these chests disappear when they respawn, that they're just not there on the second time, or a chest is only there on the second time. Could be that too. I think it's a complex idea, but also I want to keep it very simple in the sense of like, the respawn will only happen every 6 months or something. So it's either going to be like 6 months after, and this is a variable number, so it could be different, but 6 months after you collect it, or it will just be, every 6 months this map resets. So no matter what you've done, it's going to reset. So the logic about the forced items is going to have to be something, but I'll have to figure that out. Maybe the forced items will only happen the first time. I just don't know. I'll have to figure that one out, because quest items, of course, are important. Well, each one is going to have its own little, not really a state manager. It's just going to know, like on the creation side, like when it first populates, it's going to choose what to populate, and once that's done, it doesn't really care. It doesn't care that it's been 3 times. It only cares that it's the 3rd time of respawning when it respawns. So yeah, El Sporco, welcome back, by the way. Haven't seen you for a while. Yeah, I think one of the concepts in this game that I want to play with is the idea of the choices you have, where, I mean, let's say you get a powerful artifact that, makes a nuclear bomb go off, some crazy thing like that, and you've got choices. You could return it to the good king and get a reward. You could return it to the evil king and get a reward. You could use it, get no reward from either of them, but use it, or do nothing. And maybe all 4 of those choices will result in different things that happen. So maybe while you have it, people treat you differently because they know you have it, and so they're afraid of you because you have this magical item. So some of the way the NPCs respond might be different. Clearly, the good and evil king who want that item, and there's a quest, you can only solve one of those quests, because if you give it to one, then you can't give it to the other. And then of course if you use it, which maybe using it is the way to solve another quest entirely, so if you want to solve that quest, you have to use it, in which case both kings won't have their quests fulfilled. Yeah, this idea of just choices that matter and change the outcome, and ultimately might even change the way the game ends, so that there are multiple ways the game can end. And I'm not going to talk out loud, but there will be multiple ways the game can end, but there will be one real way the game ends, that if you do it this way, you'll get a special ending that you might not have expected, perhaps. Something like that. But you have to play the game a certain way that might not be as apparent the first time you play it through. You might have to realize later that there's a different way of playing it, that you could have been playing it this whole time and gotten a very different outcome in the end. So that one I'm going to keep secret, though, throughout the entire development process, I think, so that even those who support the game from the start, who have been watching the game from the start, will have something new to explore and experience. That's the idea. But anyways, gotta go eat. My belly is making noises. It's rumbling. Frodo. If I ever get a dog, I might name it Frodo. Or if it's gray, Gandalf. Or if it's fat, Samwise. Or if it's hairless, Gollum. Just get a hairless dog and name it, or a hairless cat and name it Gollum. And then it can follow around the dog Frodo and like swipe at it every once in a while. The general concept is that the land is going to have, you know, the good side and the evil side, and both the good and the evil think that they're right, and they both think that they're, you know, they should win, but they're in a stalemate. And ultimately you can decide whether to help them or not, and who to help and how to help them. That's the general concept, and some of the quests will change your disposition. So as you level up, you know, a knight will turn into I forget what, something else, but then the end there's could be a hero or a dark knight, so they can be one of the two, good or bad, but they can't be both, so you have to choose your paths and all this other stuff. But that's for later. That's for after all this basic stuff is done. But I'm happy we got this done. I'm happy I remembered that this is what I was planning on doing, because I had fully forgotten. So anyways, thanks all for joining. I will see you. I've got another stream scheduled now for tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific time. I will be joining the Game Dev show, but a short period. I'm going to be hanging out with some friends tonight and staying over there. And so I will join the Game Dev show for about probably an hour tomorrow morning. And then I will be doing a stream in the afternoon, late afternoon, evening. And we'll continue this loot work. No, Paladin is one of the base classes. Actually, it's here. I've got those all mapped out already. Character classes. So these are all the different character classes as they are. Knight is a base class, and it's not mapped out what it turns into, but something. Paladin is the base class as well. In the Might and Magic vein, Paladin is a cross between a knight and a cleric. Archer is a cross between a knight and a mage. And a ranger is a cross between a knight and a druid. And a druid is basically a magic user that can use all kinds of magic, both cleric and mage magic. But they tend to be weaker. And then finally, there is the barbarian, which is like none of the rest, just no magic or very little magic, or maybe it can't even learn magic, I forget. But more about physical attacks, and that's it. Where in later versions, even the knight can learn some magic. So, yeah. All right, save the game. All right, thanks everyone. I'll see ya.